Tell me about a complicated man. Muse, tell me how he wandered and was lost, when he had wrecked the holy town of Troy, and where he went, and who he met, the pain he suffered in the storms at sea, and how he worked to save his life and bring his men back home. He failed to keep them safe, poor fools. They ate the sun god's cattle, and the god kept them from home. Now, goddess, child of Zeus, tell the old story for our modern times. Find the beginning. All the other Greeks who had survived the brutal sack of Troy sailed safely home to their own wives, except this man alone. Calypso, a great goddess, had trapped him in her cave. She wanted him to be her husband. When the year rolled round in which the gods decreed he should go home to Ithaca, his troubles still went on. The man was friendless. All the gods took pity, except Poseidon's anger never ended until Odysseus was back home. But now, the distant Ethiopians who live between the sunset and the dawn were worshipping the sea god with a feast, 100 cattle and 100 rams. There sat the god, delighting in his banquet. The other gods were gathered on Olympus and Father Zeus's palace. He was thinking of fine, well-born Aegisthus, who was killed by Agamemnon's famous son Orestes. He told the deathless gods, "This is absurd. The mortals blame the gods. They say we cause their suffering, but they themselves increase it by folly." So Aegisthus overstepped. He took the legal wife of Agamemnon, then killed the husband when he came back home, although he knew it would doom them all. We gods had warned Aegisthus. We sent down perceptive Hermes, who flashed into sight and told him not to murder Agamemnon or court his wife. Orestes would grow up and come back to his home to take revenge. Aegisthus would not hear that good advice, but now his death has paid all debts. Athena looked at him steadily and answered, "Father, he did not deserve to die. Bring death to all who act like him, but I am agonizing about Odysseus and his bad luck. For too long he has suffered, with no friends, sea all around him, sea on every side, out on an island where a goddess lives, daughter of fearful Atlas, who holds up the pillars of the sea and knows its depths. Those pillars keep the heaven and earth apart. His daughter holds that poor, unhappy man and tries beguiling him with gentle words to cease all thoughts of Ithaca, but he longs to see even just the smoke that rises from his own homeland, and he wants to die. You do not even care, Olympian. Remember how he sacrificed to you on the broad plain of Troy beside his ships. So why do you dismiss Odysseus?" "Daughter," the cloud god said, "he must be joking, since how could I forget Odysseus? He is more sensible than other humans, and makes more sacrifices to the gods. But Lord Poseidon rages, unrelenting, because Odysseus destroyed the eye of godlike Polyphemus, his own son, the strongest of the Cyclops, whose mother, Thusa, a sea nymph, child of Phocris, the sea king, she lay beside Poseidon inside a hollow cave. So now Poseidon prevents Odysseus from reaching home, but does not kill him. Come then, we must plan. How can he get back home? Poseidon must give up his anger, since he cannot fight alone against the will of all the gods." Athena's eyes lit up, and she replied, "Great Father, if the blessed gods at last will let Odysseus return back home, then hurry. We must send our messenger, Hermes and the giant slayer. He must swoop down to Aegigia right away and tell the beautiful Calypso we have formed a firm decision that Odysseus has waited long enough. He must go home, and I will go to Ithaca to rouse the courage of his son and make him call a meeting and speak against the suitors, who will kick his flocks of sheep and longhorn cattle unstoppably. Then I will send him off to Pylos and to Sparta, to seek news about his father's journey home and gain a noble reputation for himself. With that, she tied her sandals on her feet, the marvelous golden sandals that she wears to travel sea and land as fast as wind. She took the heavy bronze-tipped spear she uses to tame the ranks of warriors with whom she is enraged. Then, from the mountain down, she sped to Ithaca, and stopped outside Odysseus's court, bronze spear in hand. She looked like Mentes now, the Taphian leader, a guest friend. Then she found the lordly suitors sitting on hides. They killed the cows themselves, and playing checkers. Quick, attentive house slaves were waiting on them. Some were mixing wine with water in the bowls, and the others brought the tables out and wiped them off with sponges, and the others carved up heaping plates of meat. Telemachus was sitting with them, feeling dejected. In his mind he saw his father coming from somewhere, scattering the suitors and gaining back his honor and control of all his property. With this in mind, he was the first to see Athena there. He disapproved of leaving strangers stranded, so he went straight to meet her at the gate, and shook her hand, and took out her spear of bronze, and let the words fly out to her. "Good evening, stranger, and welcome. Be our guest. Come share our dinner, and tell us what you need." He led her in, and Pallas followed him. Inside the high-roofed hall, he set her spear beside a pillar in a polished stand, in which Odysseus kept stores of weapons, and then he led her to a chair and spread a smooth embroidered cloth across the seat, and pulled up a footstool to it. He sat beside her on a chair of inlaid wood, a distance from the suitors, so that their shouting would not upset the stranger during dinner, also to ask about his absent father. A girl brought washing water in a jug of gold, and poured it on their hands and into a silver bowl, and sat at a table beside them. A deferential slave brought bread and laid a wide array of food, a generous spread. The carver set beside them plates of meat of every kind, and gave them golden cups. The cup boy kept up topping the wine. The suitors sauntered in and sat on chairs, observing proper order, and the slaves poured water on their hands. The house girls brought baskets of bread and heaped it up beside them, and the house boys filled their wine bowls up with the drink. They reached to take the good things set out before them. Once they were satisfied with food and drink, the suitors turned their minds to other things, singing and dancing glories of the feast. A slave brought out a well-tuned lyre and gave it to Phemius, the man the suitors forced to sing for them. He struck the chords to start his lovely song. Telemachus leaned in close to Athena, so they would not hear, and said, "Dear guest, excuse me saying this. These men are only interested in music, a life of ease. They make no contribution. This food belongs to someone else, a man whose white bones may be lying in the rain or sunk beneath the waves. If they saw him return to Ithaca, they would all pray for faster feet instead of wealth and gold and fancy clothes. In fact, he must have died. We have no hope. He will not come back home. If someone says so, we do not believe it. But come now, tell me this, and tell the truth. Who are you? From what city, and what parents? What kind of ship did you arrive here on? What sailors brought you here, and by what route? You surely did not travel here on foot. Here is the thing I really want to know. Have you been here before? Are you a friend who visited my father? Many men came to this house. He has traveled many places." Athena's clear, bright eyes met his. She said, "Yes, I will tell you everything. I am Mentas, the son of wise Calais, lord of the Taphians, who love the oar. I traveled with my ship and my companions over the wine-dark sea to foreign lands, with iron that I hope to trade for copper and tamiz. My ship is in the harbor far from the town, beneath the woody hill, and you and I are guest friends through our fathers from long ago. Laertes can confirm it. I hear the fine old man no longer comes to town, but lives out in the countryside, stricken by grief, with only one old slave who gives him food and drink when he trails back, leg-weary from his orchard, rich in vines. I came because they told me your father was here, but now it seems the gods have blocked his path back home. But I am sure that he is not yet dead. The wide sea keeps him trapped upon some island, captured by fierce men who will not let him go. Now, I will make a prophecy to the gods that have given me, and I think it will all come true, although I am no prophet. He will not be gone much longer from his own dear native land, even if chains of iron hold him fast. He will devise a means of getting home. He is resourceful. Tell me now, are you Odysseus' son? You are so tall. Your handsome face and eyes resemble his. We often met and knew each other well before he went to Troy, where all his best leaders of Argos sailed in hollow ships. From that time on, we have not seen each other. Telemachus was careful as he answered, Dear guest, I will be frank with you. My mother says that I am his son, but I cannot be sure, since no one knows his own begetting. I wish I were the son of someone lucky, who could grow old at home with all his wealth. Instead, the most unlucky man alive is said to be my father, since you ask. Athena looked at him with sparkling eyes. Son of Penelope, you and your sons will make a name in history, since you are so clever. But now, tell me this. Who are these banqueters, and what is the occasion? A drinking party, or a wedding feast? They look so arrogant and self-indulgent, making themselves at home. A wise observer would surely disapprove of how they act. Telemachus said moodily, My friend, since you have raised the subject, there was once a time when this house here was doing well, our future bright when he was still at home. But now the gods have changed their plans and cursed us, and cast my father into utter darkness. If he had died, it would not be this bad. If he had fallen with his friends at Troy, or in his loved one's arms when he had wounds, the threads of war would end. The Greeks would then have built a tomb for him. He would have won fame for his son. But now the winds have seized him, and he is nameless and unknown. He left nothing but tears for me. I do not weep only for him. The gods have given me so many other troubles. All the chiefs of Same, Zacynthus, Dulichium, and local lords from rocky Ithaca are courting Mother, wasting our whole house. She does not turn these offer-suitors down, nor can she end the courting. They keep eating, spoiling my house, and soon they will kill me. Athena said in outrage, This is monstrous. You need Odysseus to come back home and lay his hands on all those shameless suitors. If only he would come here now and stand right at the gates, with 2 spears in his hands, and shield and helmet, as when I first saw him. Odysseus was visiting our house, drinking and having fun on his way back from sailing in swift ships to Ephyra, to visit Elis. He had gone there looking for a deadly poison to anoint his arrows. Elis refused, because he feared the gods. My father gave Odysseus the poison, loving him blindly. May Odysseus come to meet the suitors with that urge to kill. A bitter courtship and short life for them. But whether he comes home to take revenge or not, it is with the gods. You must consider how best to drive these suitors from your house. Come, listen carefully to what I say. Tomorrow, call the Achaean chiefs to meeting and tell the suitors, Let gods be witness. All of you, go away to your own homes. As for your mother, if she wants to marry, let her return to her great father's home. They will make her a wedding and prepare abundant gifts to show her father's love. Now here is some advice from me to you. Fit out a ship with 20 oars, the best, and go find out about your long-lost father. Someone may tell you the news, or you may hear a voice from Zeus, best source of information. First, go to Pylos, question god-like Nestor. From there to Sparta, visit Menelaus. He came home last of all the Achaean heroes. If you should hear that he is still alive and coming home, put up with this abuse for 1 more year. But if you hear that he is dead, go home and build a tomb for him, and hold a lavish funeral to show the honor he deserves, and give your mother a marriage to a man. When this is done, consider deeply how you might be able to kill the suitors in your halls, by tricks or openly. You must not stick to childhood. You are no longer just a little boy. You surely heard how everybody praised Orestes when he killed the man who killed his famous father. Devious against this. Dear boy, I see how big and tall you are. Be brave and win yourself a lasting name. But I must go now, on my speedy ship. My friends are getting tired of waiting for me. Remember what I said, and heed my words. Telemachus was brooding on her words and said, Dear guest, you were so kind to give me this fatherly advice. I will remember. I know that you are eager to be off, but please enjoy a bath before you go, and take a gift with you. I want to give you a precious, pretty treasure as a keepsake to mark our special friendship. But the goddess Athena met his gaze and said, Do not hold me back now. I must be on my way. As for the gift you feel inspired to give me, save it for when I come on my way home, and let me give you presents then as well in fair exchange. With that, the owl-eyed goddess flew away like a bird up through the smoke. She left him feeling braver, more determined, and with his father even more in mind. Watching her go, he was amazed and saw she was a god. Then, godlike, he went off to meet the suitors. They were sitting calmly, listening to the poet, who sang how Athena cursed the journey of the Greeks as they were sailing home from Troy. Upstairs, Penelope had heard the marvelous song. She clambered down the steep steps of her house not by herself. 2 slave girls came with her. She reached the suitors looking like a goddess, then stopped and stood beside a sturdy pillar, holding a gauzy veil before her face. Her slave girls stood, one on each side of her, in tears. She told the holy singer, Stop, please, Phemius. You know too many songs, so enchanting tales of things that gods and men have done, the deeds that singers publicize. Sing something else, and let them drink in peace. Stop this upsetting song that always breaks my heart, so I can hardly bear my grief. I miss him all the time, that man, my husband, whose story is so famous throughout Greece. Sullen Telemachus said, Mother, no. You must not criticize the loyal bard for singing as it pleases him to sing. Poets are not to blame for how things are. Zeus is. He gives to each as his will. Do not blame Phemius because he told about the Greeks' disasters. You must know the newest song is always praised the most. So steel your heart and listen to the song. Odysseus was not the only one who did not come back home again from Troy. Many were lost. Go in and do your work. Stick to the loom and the staff. Tell your slaves to do their chores as well. It is for men to talk, especially me. I am the master. That startled her. She went back to her room and took her son's uneasy words to heart. She went upstairs along with both her slaves and wept there for her dear Odysseus until Athena gave her eyes a sweet sleep. Throughout the shadowy halls all the suitors clamored, praying to lie beside her in bed. Telemachus inhaled, then started speaking. You suitors, you are taking this too far. Let us enjoy the feast in peace. It is a lovely thing to listen to a bard, especially one with such a godlike voice. At dawn, let us assemble in the square. I have to tell you this. It is an order. You have to leave my halls. Go dine elsewhere. Eat your own food, or share between your houses. Or if you think it is easier and better to ruin one man's wealth, and if you think that you can get away with it, go on. I call upon the gods. Zeus will grant my vengeance. You will be punished and destroyed right here." He spoke, and they began to bite their lips, shocked that Telemachus would dare to speak so boldly. But Antonius replied, "Telemachus, the gods themselves have taught you such pride to talk so big and brash in public. May Zeus, the son of Cronus, never grant you your true inheritance, which is the throne of Ithaca." His mind alert and focused, Telemachus replied, "Antonius, you will not like this, but I have to say, I hope Zeus does give me the throne. Do you deny it is an honorable thing to be a king? It brings the household wealth and honor to the man. But there are many other great chiefs in sea-girt Ithaca, both old and young. I know that. One of them may seize the throne now that Odysseus has died, but I shall be the least the lord of my own house and of the slaves that he seized for my benefit." Eurymachus replied, "Telemachus, the gods must choose which of us will be king of Ithaca, but still I hope you keep your own possessions and rule your house. May no man drive you out and seize your wealth while Ithaca survives. Now, friend, I want to ask about the stranger. Where was he from, and what country? Did he say? Where is his place of birth, his native soil? Does he bring news your father will come home, or did he come here for some other purpose? How suddenly he darted off, not waiting for us to meet him. Yet he looked important." The boy said soberly, "Eurymachus, my father is not ever coming home. I do not listen now to any gossip or forecast from the psychics where my mother invites to visit us. The stranger was my father's guest friend Mentis, son of wise Anacylus, who was ruler of the Taphians, the people of the Oar. Those were his words, but in his mind she knew she was a god. They danced to the music and enjoyed themselves till evening, then went back home to sleep. Telemachus's bedroom had been built above the courtyard, so it had a view. He went upstairs, preoccupied by thought. A loyal slave went with him, Eurysclea, a daughter of Hopes. She brought the burning torches Laertes brought her many years before, when she was very young, for 20 oxen. He gave her status in the household, equal to that of his own wife, but never slept with her, avoiding bitter feelings in his marriage. She brought the torches now. She was the slave who loved him most, since she had cared for him when he was tiny. Entering the room, she sat down on the bed, took off his tunic, and gave it to the vigilant old woman. She smothered it. She smoothed it and folded it, then hung it up on a hook beside his wooden bed, and left the room. She used the silver latch to close the door, the strap pulled tight, the bolt. He slept the night there, wrapped in woolen blankets, planning the journey told him by Athena. So that was book 1 of the Odyssey. And a lot happened. Well, actually, it was more like a lot of words were said, but not much happened. The reason the Odyssey is a little confusing to new readers is because the story is told in a way where the timelines jump around a little bit. Because the book is coming from a poet who is basically telling the story, but the book is also about the poet who is telling the story. It's a little confusing. So I am actually going to open up the summary of the book and go through the talking points on there, as well as explain some things myself. So, in book 1, it starts with a poet invoking the muse, which is essentially what you hear in the opening lines, "Tell me about a complicated man." the person singing the book is asking a muse, which is a goddess essentially, to give him the strength and inspiration to continue with the story. The gods in the beginning of the book were holding a meeting to decide how to best help Odysseus, because the rest of the gods do want to help him. It's only Poseidon that's mad at him. And this comes up later in the book as well. It is because Odysseus actually killed Poseidon's son, the Cyclops, which is a monster with one eye. After Poseidon killed the Cyclops, he screamed that it was I, Odysseus, who killed him. Poseidon heard that and cursed Odysseus to never really be able to get home, to only be trapped at the sea and be constantly thwarted and punished whenever he tried to get back home. So, Zeus basically told the god Hermes to go talk to Calypso, who Odysseus is trapped with right now in this time in the story, to let Odysseus go. Odysseus washed up on the island of Ogygia. You may remember hearing that word, which is the island where Calypso lives. Calypso is a daughter of Atlas and is in love with Odysseus and is trying her best to get Odysseus to stay. It is heavily implied that Odysseus did have a relationship with Calypso at first. So I notice in a lot of modern Odyssey retellings, especially with Epic, the musical. I'm not sure if anybody has heard of that. Watching this, but there is a musical that is being written about Odysseus, and it's gained quite a fan base online. And in this musical, Odysseus is painted as almost a perfect character, which I really don't think he is. And he's painted as perfectly loyal to his wife, which he definitely is not. I notice in media, Odysseus and Penelope's relationship is often depicted as much more than it is, although it was a good relationship for the time. He was still very much not loyal to her. So, he is currently trapped with Calypso on Ogygia, and Athena went to go warn Telemachus, Odysseus' son, about, she didn't warn him, but she was telling him and giving him advice on what to do about the suitors that are trying to marry Penelope, Odysseus' wife. So he tells the suitors that they have to leave. They have to go or they will be cursed by Zeus. And the suitors do not listen. So we ended the book with him saying he's going to call a meeting the next day. And the suitors still don't believe him and still say they will stay and continue to eat through Odysseus' wealth and supplies and animals and meat. So I believe that is the important aspects of the story gone through. Let me know, because I do plan to continue this and go on with book 2 of the Odyssey. If you would prefer me to do more not line by line analysis, but section by section. So it could be, since the pages are broken up into basically paragraphs of poetry, lines of poetry, I could go through each section as I read them and explain what they mean. That way you don't have to try and remember at the end, or if you're still awake, because as much as I love the Odyssey, it is pretty easy to fall asleep too. So let me know if there's anything you want differently to be done. And like I said, I do plan to continue this series, both with the Odyssey and other books. Actually, I have Poetic Eddas from Nordic mythology. I also have Metamorphoses, which is basically a collection collection of myths as told by Ovid, another Greek writer. It has stories like Medusa and Theseus and Perseus, and retells a lot of old legends. So, thank you for watching this video. And if you liked it, please check out my channel and stick around.